Just like us, you have inherited a koi carp pond when moving into your new home. This video will show to you how easy it is to take care of such pond, and afterwards you'll see how beautiful your pond will become with lots of lilies of different colors opening during July and August at certain times in the middle of the day. But let's start with the pond, and you saw briefly there the lava rock which contain all the electrics for our pond and one of the waterfalls. Besides this, I'm going to show you how to check electrics, the pump area, if the pump works okay, how to clean the pump, the waterfall and the biofall area, and devices you need plus the food you need for the koi carp. And look how beautiful they are and noisy. After getting to know us, after a while, within like 2-3 months, they become your best friends and they follow you around. Knowing that you bring them food, well, feeding koi carp is advisable to be done only between May and October. Why? If you feed them outside these months, the food will rot within their stomachs. So it's not even advisable to feed them. You do it for your pleasure and you only put like a bit in your hand and you just throw it delicately as I show you here in this video. Like 50 grams is more than enough, just a bit in your palm. Being keen ornithologists, even in the UK, we also gave food to the many bigger or smaller birds coming to our garden and attracting rabbits, raccoons, opossums, squirrels, chipmunks, and even owls and bigger birds of prey. We loved it. It was madness during the summer and the winter. Let's start with the electrics hidden underneath the lava rock. You do that in order to protect all the electrics, and the previous homeowner had only these two mains. Ideally you should have 4. The white one is for the aerator and the black one is for the pump, which I'm going to show you soon. What I did, I also put the aerators in that plastic box purely because I wanted to protect further, and this is the extension lid where I used to put one of the aerators. We had 2 aerators, one tube aerator which came with the pond from the previous homeowner and the 2 aerators which we purchased ourselves, and this is the Aquascape 2 pond aerator. So on the right hand side you see the electrics which I put in that plastic box, and the 2 aerators, the blue devices, they need to be put at the bottom of the pond. Aerators are important because they provide the aeration at the bottom of the pond, while the waterfall provide the aeration at the top of the pond, so bringing oxygen basically. I remember people complaining in lots of reviews their fish died because of lack of aeration, so this is important. Now let's move on to the skimmer area where the pump is located, and the pump needs to be cleaned at least twice per annum. And this is how my pump looked after being taken out from the water. It was a bit smashed. This is how we received it. This is how it should be connected. Now, the pump should be cleaned in late April, May, and then in late September, October. Why? Because the temperatures then are around 20 degrees Celsius or 68 Fahrenheit. And this is the optimal temperature for cleaning the pump. So besides the biofalls area, which need to be cleaned at the same time when you clean the pump, twice per year. So taking the pump apart in the skimmer area is like that. So you see, it's kind of messy, and I used to check the skimmer area at least once per day. Why? Because some fish used to come to this area. So what happened? I tried to clean the pump in summertime when it was rather warm. Of course, your pond is going to have some stones, and I used to keep track of the level of the water in the pond by looking at these stones. And for example, in April, when it used to rain a lot, the stones were covered with water, so they were completely submerged. However, in summertime, in July or August, even in June, sometimes I noticed the level of the water was 4 inches lower. And this was my mistake when I tried to clean the pump when the water level was at the lowest. That is why I had that problem in the skimmer area. Not knowing that, and the previous house owner not knowing that either, as I was emailing her, I decided to take the pump apart, as you can see here, checking the pump fittings, checking the impeller, checking the condition of the pump, and everything looks perfect. So it's very good to know and to compare online. Do your research if you think you have got a problem with your pump, because these pumps are very expensive. This is Aquascape 5000 and is rather expensive. So I was looking at all possibilities, I was taking dimensions, I checked the electrics, nothing wrong. So I said, okay, let's test with a new pump. This pump, things are perfect. However, it does not bring water into the pond. So on this basis, I had to return it to Amazon. All these items were purchased from Aquascape. I'm talking about the pump, I'm talking about the electrics. The whole pond was made with items from Aquascape. And Aquascape said, oh, the pump is over 3 years old, which means we can't replace this pump for you. So there you have it. I couldn't do anything. Fortunately, it rained, and then the water levels in the pond increased, were a bit lower than April levels, but still were good enough. The skimmer area was working perfectly. The pump didn't make that noise, annoying noise you heard earlier on. So on this basis, everything started working perfectly. So it wasn't anything wrong with the electrics, it was nothing wrong with the pump, it was nothing wrong with the impeller, just the water levels. How important is that? However, you have to learn how to take a pump apart, and I showed you how I took the Aquascape pump apart and now how this new pump works. So if you like working with all kind of machinery and stuff like that, is a very, very easy job to do. It's not difficult. A teenager into physics could do it. Now let's look at the waterfall biofalls. So inside the waterfall, it is an area where you place the biofalls. What is the purpose of the biofalls? To actually clean the water as it comes from the waterfall into the pond. So we covered the pond with the netting left from the previous owner. We only removed it briefly in summertime and covered it again in October, for example, when lots of leaves were falling, because we had lots of trees around the pond. So inside there, once you remove all these stones, is an area where there are 2 sacks with biofalls. Those 2 sacks were rather heavy, so I couldn't do it alone. So you just jet them with water to clean them, and you need to do it twice per year, otherwise is becoming very, very dirty. Your pond will attract all kind of insects, frogs, anything really. We even had ducks dropping on top of the pond. We had herons coming all the time trying to eat the fish and snatching the frogs lying around. And you have to protect the pond with this net, not only from the leaves, but also from birds and even animals coming around. We had all kind of wildlife coming to drink water besides the water we are putting in the fountains for wildlife. Our pond was working year round, and what I like doing several times per week was to clean this waterfall area by just cleaning the stones. And you see the difference when you clean these stones. The water looks so much better. It's very, very interesting. And I was hoping to buy even an aspirator to clean the stones on the edge of the pond. Why? Because if you ask for the help of a professional, they are going to charge you close to $2,000. And what they do, they remove the water with all the good bacteria in the water. They place the fish in their own tank and they put new water, and afterwards they put the fish back in the pond. This is a process that takes one day. So not only costs lots of money, but you get rid of the good bacteria. And if this pond worked for over a decade without needing to be cleaned, I was thinking I can do the same thing. So look at one of the waterfalls and how I clean it with a small brush, because underneath is a plastic lining. You don't want to destroy that. So you clean the stones of all the grass you find in that area. It's a type of string grass forming on the stones, on the big stones and little stones. So I like doing that early in the morning when the wildlife, I'm talking about all kind of bees and insects and worms, were not going heavily around the way they would do during the day when the temperature was high. So it was like a paradise, not only for us, but also for the wildlife. So to repeat, there are two areas to clean several times per week. This area around one of the waterfalls which was open, the second one being closed, and in the skimmer area checking, because you lose fish. We lost 2 fish in 1 year, which is normal. They die because of old age, they die because of disease, and we had lots of very big fish, close to 3 feet long, which apparently are very expensive if you are to sell them. However, they contain a high level of mercury and they're not good for consumption. We purchased only this Clueback koi farm food for our koi carp. Can be done online or many shops around. And we chose it because the previous owner used to use the same thing, and based on reviews on Amazon, for example, other type of food basically poisoned their fish. So we wanted to be very careful and not create any disturbance in their pond line. We also purchased beneficial bacteria and this sub cleaner as advised by the previous homeowner in order to maintain a good water quality. However, bear in mind, the pond is maybe 1 foot towards the edges and will be 3 feet deeper in the middle. You will not be able to see the middle area, especially if you have lilies the way we did with lots of leaves. They surprised us, but we thought because of these two, the beneficial bacteria and the sub cleaner, that is why we had so many lilies. Using these two cleaners helps in summertime to see the fish towards the edges, but amazingly in autumn and spring you can see even close to the center of the pond if using these two sub cleaner and beneficial bacteria. If you can afford to use a professional on a year basis, well, lucky you. However, if you are to do it yourself, this is very important. Another important thing is to have these floating pond de-icers, which you put them in the pond when the ice starts forming and say it becomes 3 inches thick. Because our pond has been working for over a decade year round, the previous owner didn't use this, so we purchased this first aquascape de-icer, which didn't work properly, so we purchased a cheaper one, this ice chaser, which worked without any problems. So we had water around this de-icer and around the waterfall when the weather was very, very cold. Bear in mind, this happened only for like maybe 5 days, and the rest of the winter everything was perfect. So this is the tube aerator you see there on the right hand side, which was left by the previous owner and is an ancient aerator. And these two cords in black are leading to the aerators placed at the bottom of the pond and which go into the area where all the electrics are under the lava rock. This is how the water will look in summertime, in the middle of the day, when there are close to 30 degrees Celsius, 86 Fahrenheit, sometime reaching 100 Fahrenheit. So you can't have huge expectations in summertime for the water to be very, very clean, especially if you do everything yourself. And as I mentioned, the next step was to buy an aspirator similar to the one used in swimming pools. These are very happy fish, and look at the net being destroyed on the left hand side, probably by raccoons or other wildlife, and look how beautiful they are. And I mentioned earlier on, we had so many leaves, proof that all the good bacteria I was putting in the pond, following the instructions on the boxes, were just great. We also had a fountain near the pond and attracted lots of goldfinches, robins, cardinals, blue jays, sparrows, doves, anything, also to eat the seeds we used to put for them and the nuts for the squirrels. So it was madness 24/7, whether winter or summer, and we just loved it. It was very, very entertaining. You might wonder why in the electrics area you see some extra cords, because one of them was leading to, we had this light in the garden, very, very beautiful, like vintage, and together with the solar lights, the place looked magical even at night. Just brilliant and so, so gorgeous. Really loving our American home. In the UK, I used to go to the park to feed the wildlife, and they all used to know me and bring even their young ones towards me, as opposed to other people, running away from other people, because they knew how much I love the wildlife. And the ducks used to always fly hundreds of meters coming to me, especially the Egyptian geese and also Canada geese, very, very friendly, running towards us. Nothing like the Canada geese we had here in the States. They are completely wild, and we used to have like hundreds of geese, summer or winter, and some of them just positioning themselves on top of the house and making lots of noises, because we also had 2 collection ponds nearby. So this is very common in North America to have collection ponds everywhere. You might want to stop the video where you find point of interest, but trust me, if you are to create your pond or to take care of a pond you had inherited when purchasing a house, trust me, is very, very easy. A child can do it. And you saw how I did everything despite only having lived previously in capitals of Europe and just learning how to use a mower in the States, how to use all the tools to take care of the garden, how to take care of the pond and have happy fish. Well, as ever, I hope all this information was of help to you. Thank you for watching.